Now I'm sure you're aware of the benefits of using high-pass filters. If you're not, then check out my other video where I go through a load of different uses for them and ways that I find helpful. But there is one big potential pitfall that a lot of people are really not aware of, and it could be ruining the low end of your drum mixes, it could be messing up your mastering. It's really important to know of and be aware of so you can pick and choose when to use high-pass filters correctly, or maybe you'll want to choose to use a low shelf instead. And we're going to look at this potential pitfall in this video. Now this problem is caused by what's called phase distortion. Phase distortion is effectively a shift in the waveform, and this can affect what it sounds like. Let me just show you. So here we have two square waves that are perfectly aligned, or what we would call in phase. Now one of them on its own sounds like this. If I play the two of them together, it's going to sound exactly the same but just louder because they're adding together. There we go. Now if we shift the waveform a little bit, it's going to sound different. Let's have a listen. Okay, it sounds almost hollow now. There's some high frequencies that weren't really present before, and some other frequencies sort of in the mids especially that seem to be cut. Let's move it a bit further. Okay, there it's really quiet. That's because it's basically cancelling out, because we've it's not a perfect square wave, this, so there is still a little bit of sound getting through, but we've basically what's called inverted the phase, or shifted it 180 degrees along. This is what the on preamps there's often a button that says phase, or as a circle with a line through it, and this is effectively what it's doing. It's inverting the waveform so it looks like this, and then in this scenario it's completely cancelling out. Now most analog EQs introduce some degree of phase distortion, usually on or around the frequency that we're adjusting. However, it's not enough to make hugely significant differences to the sound. However, when it comes to high-pass filters, you basically get a full inversion of the phase, and at the frequency, not over all the frequencies, at the particular frequency or close to the frequency we are adjusting. Now let's show you what's going on. So I've got here two sine waves at 140 Hertz. Let's just have a listen. Okay, now I'm going to open Ozone 9. I'm going to open it on both. One of them are going to have flat, the other one we're going to do the high pass. That's just in case there's any latency or anything introduced by the plugin. We know both channels are identical except for the high pass filter. So let's set the high pass filter to 140 Hertz, which is what we've got, and let's listen. Okay, so it's quieter. No surprises there because, well, you've turned it down using the high pass filter. However, if I sweep up this high pass filter, we would expect it to get even quieter because the slope is going down, so there's going to be less and less level. But let's listen to see what happens. It gets louder. That's strange. Now what's causing that is because it's not just the cut in level that is causing the waveform to get quieter, it is also inverting the phase and cancelling it out. Just to show you that I'm not talking rubbish, I'm going to change this to the digital mode, which is what's called a linear phase equalizer. Now these don't introduce any phase at all. Let's hear what happens now. So as we sweep up, it gets quieter as we expect. Let's go back to analog. So that's showing you that the phase is cancelling it out. Let's just change it to 48 decibels per octave and listen what happens. So it's obviously not doing a phase, flipping the phase at the exact frequency, but I've got it set to 83 Hertz here, and it's basically cancelling out completely. Wow, okay. Now you can probably start to figure out where we're going with this and why this could be causing some problems with your mix. Now, one thing quickly to mention, if you're dealing with a mono source, say for example a vocal singing into one mic and it's just one channel on its own, phase distortions aren't going to cause an issue. It's only when we start mixing channels together or using multiple microphone setups that phase becomes really important. For example, if we've got two microphones close miking a guitar cab, if the phase, let's say for example we've got one with no high pass filter and the other one's got a 48 decibel per octave high pass filter set at, you know, I don't know, 100 Hertz, then judging by this, you know, what just happened here with this sine wave, we're probably going to get a cancellation at around 120, 130 Hertz, and a complete cancellation, which isn't going to help the sound of the guitar, is it? So let's have a listen to kick drum. Now, for this, you're going to need good headphones. For the more observant of you, you may have noticed that one of my monitors has gone off, is missing. It's gone off for a service. And I'm not going to be able to hear these low frequencies on my little grot boxes, so I'm going to put my HD 650s on, which are really good headphones, really good. Got these for Christmas off my wife, and I've been really impressed. So I've put so this is a kick. Let's bypass these and listen. I've put a Pultec. Identical Pultecs on each one. They're exactly the same, just to boost the low end so we can hear what's going on. Now, as I said, they're exactly the same. So what that means, if they are introducing, which they will be, some phase distortion, it is exactly the same on both channels, so it won't make a difference. It's only when the phase is different on one to the other that we start getting the cancellations and the waves adding up and creating weird sounds. So let's have a look. So it looks as if the fundamental is around about 50 Hertz or so. So if we set this to 24 and set this to 50 Hertz, let's have a listen to that really low. So we've lost that really low, warm, thick, yeah. So how do we avoid problems with phase distortion? Well, first of all, if you're going to introduce some phase distortion by using EQ, you know, high pass filters, then make sure you do the same to every channel. So any flip in the phase is going to be the same on everything, so that nothing is going to be cancelling out. If you're, for example, recording a guitar amp with two mics, as we talked about before, and you want to put a high pass filter on, that's fine, but put the same high pass filter with the same preamp on both channels. That way the phase distortion is identical and you're not going to get any cancellation out. When it comes to things like drums, or if you've got lots of bass channels, say for example you've got a DI channel and a mic channel on your bass, I would use low shelf filters and wouldn't go anywhere near a high pass. If you want to put a high pass on, then do it on the drum bus, or create a bus for both bass guitar channels that feed into one bus, then do it on there. Again, the same principle as we just talked about. That way any phase distortion is applied to everything uniformly, so it's not going to cancel out. The other thing to be aware of is quite commonly used in mastering, but sometimes in mixing, which is using mid-side EQs. Again, you've got to be careful here, because you might be thinking, I want my low frequencies to be really tight and down the middle, so I'm going to put a high pass high pass filter on the side channel of the EQ to cut it all out. Now if you're in linear phase, that is okay, but if you're not, be very careful, because yes, you might be cleaning out the low end from the side, but also you could be introducing a big phase distortion that is gonna it might solve one issue but create a completely new one that no amount of EQ is ever gonna fix. So yeah, hopefully this has been useful. I've tried to explain everything as best I can without going on too much. If you've got anything you want me to try and explain better or more, or any questions, then fire away and I'll do my best to answer them. If you found it interesting, then please subscribe, and yeah, I'll try and keep, whenever I get time, I'll try and keep more videos coming out of things that have been really helpful to me in my journey with mixing and with music, that I hope can be useful to you.